A police officer in Arizona named Mitch Brailsford was just found not guilty of a murder charge, and the video of the incident was released. I'm going to show you in a second. Fair warning, it is beyond graphic. It's one of the worst cop shootings I've ever seen. The victim here is a 16-year-old named Daniel Shaver. Shaver was at a La Quinta Inn in Mesa, Arizona, and someone reported a man pointing a gun out of his window. That's what this is over. A man was pointing a gun out of his window. Now, in reality, it was a pellet gun. Nobody was shot. At least none of the reports indicate anybody was shot with it. They just saw a gun out the window. So, Shaver was drunk. He had a pellet rifle. Now, he didn't take that pellet rifle with him when he came out into the hallway, when the cops told him to come out into the hallway. So he was unarmed when he was out in the hallway. You're about to see the way he reacts to the police, and then here's what happened next.
Grab the pole.
No, Rich, pull
Pull,
this
Rich,
way.
Pull. Let me know when you're clear. Clear? No, you're not clear. You haven't frisked her yet.
You're not. You'll be in the chain so we figure out exactly what's going on, okay? Just be cool and we'll be done.
Hey, when you're done with that, lay her flat. Okay, I need one more cuff her up. Okay. This is the deal. We're going to do almost like we did before. Okay? Have a seat. Okay, young man, listen to my instructions and do not make a mistake. You are to keep your legs crossed. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
You are to put both of your hands palm down, straight out in front of you. Push yourself up to a kneeling position. I said keep your legs crossed!
I'm sorry.
I didn't say this in conversation. Put your hand! Hands up in the air! You do that again, we're shooting you. Do you understand?
Please do not shoot me.
Then listen to my instructions.
I'm trying to just do what you
Don't talk! Listen! Hands straight up in the air. Do not put your hands down for any reason. You think you're going to fall, you better fall on your face. Your hands go back in the small of your back or down. We are going to shoot you. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir.
Crawl towards me. Crawl towards me!
Yes, sir.
Don't talk!
Wow. Yeah, that's that was, I think, one of the worst ones I've ever seen. So the officers are claiming, or that officer is claiming, he was reaching behind his back to get a weapon. With the context of everything that unfolded there, I think that is a giant stretch. I mean, when somebody's crying and sobbing and basically begging for his life and saying yes, sir, and no, sir, and don't shoot and all that stuff, I don't, like, first of all, at the very beginning, when he's laying there on the ground in the position that he was apparently directed to lay in, I don't know why he didn't just walk up to him and put the cuffs on him right there. Problem solved. It's almost like he wanted to continue to play Mr. Macho police officer and be like, I'm going to shout. And then he shouted all these different directions that seemed like contradictory at him. And the guy's like, I'm trying to follow your directions. I can't. It's hard to. And then he starts crawling, and then he got lit up and killed. 5 shots. He's dead now. And this guy was exonerated. Not guilty. He testified that, given everything I know now, I would have reacted the exact same way. I would have done the exact same thing. Because he was reaching, and he was a threat. If you think he's a threat, that guy is the best actor the world has ever seen. Because somebody who's sobbing and being deferential like that, that's not a threat. That's a boy. He was was he 16 or 26? I think he was 26. I think there was a typo in my story here. But that's a boy. Like, he was reacting like a boy. You know, scared for his life. And you want to talk about, like, let's say for a second, you're the officer, and you really were convinced that, no, this guy is, I think he's reaching for something. Given the context of everything that's happening, and how he's crying, and his tone of voice, and how he's trying to be compliant, even though this guy might be dense and pretend like that's not the case, wouldn't that be a perfect instance to use a taser or something? Now listen, let's say you use the taser and then people still come after you and say you shouldn't fucking use the taser in that situation. Well, guess what? At least the kid's alive. At least the kid's alive. That's hard to watch, man. Now, listen to these numbers. This is incredible. In 2016, there were 1,093 police killings in the U.S. Now, there was just a Vice News piece that broke, I think, last night, where they looked into it, and they say it's double that. So they say it's over 2,000 police shootings in the U.S. Each year. Since 2002, Norway has had a total of 2 police killings. We get 1 to 2,000 a year. Norway has 2 police killings. Now, I know this is the part where everybody goes, the culture is different. Culture? Culture? You know, it's a culture, bro. Culture. It frustrates me beyond belief when people are satisfied with non-answer answers. Like, this culture, it's culture, bro. Because even if you believe that, that means it is totally preventable, and you can change it. So, what needs to happen, first of all, this guy, I would have found him guilty. Based on there's not a reasonable doubt there. I don't think it's a reasonable doubt. I think that guy's guilty. He should be locked up. But apart from finding people guilty when they are guilty, you need to 100% change the rules for policing, where they don't emphasize de-escalation tactics in the U.S. They don't do that. De-escalation training is like a tiny percentage of what's done. That needs to be maybe the bulk of the training. So you de-escalate, you work for the people as opposed to viewing them always 100% of the time as a threat. So fire all the bad cops, lock them up when they commit a crime like this, and change the rules for policing. And you shouldn't even have, in a situation like this, it shouldn't even be a lethal weapon that's the first thing to be used. When the guy's already subdued on the ground, laying in a way that you told him to, there's no need for the fucking, all the unnecessary things you told him to do to fucking crawl. What are you? Fucking Dirty Harry? Crawl to me! By the way, in case you were interested here, the officer's gun had "You're fucked" engraved on it. Let me explain something to you. You would have to be dense beyond all imagination to not realize that this is a man who's looking for trouble, this officer. He's looking for trouble. By the way, that wasn't admissible in court. The judge said that's not relevant, so I'm not going to let it. It's not relevant when the guy who just murdered somebody has "You're fucked" written on his gun. He chose those words to put on his gun, engrave it on his gun. He chose them. Why would you choose them? I don't know, maybe when you're somebody who has issues and you love violence and you can't wait to use violence. You're looking for a fucking excuse to use violence. And that's what he thought he got right there. You're 99.9% compliant. That 0.1% you weren't compliant, I'm going to kill you. You're fucked, like it says on my gun. Mitch Brailsford is a murderer. Arizona officer Mitch Brailsford. He's been fired, but he was not found guilty of this. They made the wrong decision.